Legend of Total War here, and today we're doing another Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires campaign review, this time covering Ungrim Ironfist. So Ungrim's start position is Karak-Kadrin, the same start location he had for the majority of Total War Warhammer 2, because originally he was actually part of the Karaz-Karak faction, and he got pulled out of that fairly early on into Warhammer 2's life cycle. So your initial enemy is the Red-Eye Greenskins, who are a very easy punching bag, but you've got a trick start here. The game leans towards you attacking Nashrak's lair and then moving down south here to finish them off. It's very easy to do that. These guys here don't put up much of a fight, but if you do that, you'll encounter Skarsnik and pretty much have to declare war on him straight away. But if you don't do that, then you won't encounter Skarsnik. These guys here don't counterattack, and you give yourself an opportunity to deliver a massive blow to Azag the Slaughterer before he spams out Orc Boys. So here's what I recommend doing. On turn 1, attach this Runesmith into the army, attack this army, defeat it, and then occupy Nashrak's lair. Recruit 2 units of Slayers and switch the commandment over to the one that gives you extra recruit slots by 1. At Karak-Kadrin, one thing that you can do is build the refectory on turn 1, which gives you a chance for Gotrek and Felix to show up, but it's entirely up to you. Otherwise, if you don't really feel like having them straight away, you can go with the Trinket Maker. It's entirely up to you. Then on turn 2, you want to be standing here and recruit 3 units of Slayers. So you'll have 5 units of Slayers in order to, or additional Slayers to take on Khazad Urkalaz. Now, there's a degree of randomness to what Azag the Slaughterer does in his time. Sometimes he occupies Karak Ungrim on turn 1, sometimes he does it on turn 2. Hopefully he delays, but you can't guarantee one way or another. Now on turn 3, there shouldn't be any forces sitting in Khazad Urkalaz, so with your additional forces, that should be a very easy win. I highly recommend you try to take minimal casualties, because capturing the settlement is only half the battle, really. Then, on turn 4, and don't forget to recruit there as well, because you'll get access to his barracks. And that's really the most important thing. If you capture the settlement here, he doesn't have a barracks, he can't get Orc Boys, a unit that he boosts, and all he's going to get is Goblins, which is very easy for you to deal with. So get yourself some Dwarf Warriors from here, and then on turn 4, stand about here. Now, if your army got smashed in this battle here, you're probably not going to be able to handle it, in which case you might have to hold back. Maybe go into ambush stance and just see how things play out. But if your army's in good shape, you can stand here, and Azag the Slaughterer will probably attack you over the end turn. And your army should be better than his, so you should be able to beat it. And if you do manage to win that battle, and don't forget to recruit as well, then that's basically the end of Azag the Slaughterer. But if you're not feeling confident with that, because this campaign can vary a little bit due to random factors, it might be better to wait for Azag to push further down towards Karak-Raziak and allowing you to capture Karak Ungrim essentially undefeated. It's entirely up to you which way you want to go about it, but typically you want to try to take him out as quickly as possible, because he, even with 1 settlement, can essentially have 2 full stacks, which is something that you will not simply be able to afford. So you got to take him out quickly. Now once you've done that, there aren't really any northern enemies out here. These guys here tend to be relatively passive, so then you can focus down south here. And if you've done it quickly enough, these guys here haven't even launched a counterattack, and you can arrive before these guys even come back. And most of the time they recruit garbage units, and you can recruit a secondary army here if you absolutely need to. So overall, Ungrim Ironfist has the potential of having a very difficult campaign, at least at the start, but if you play this one out here, it certainly mitigates that difficulty significantly. By far, your worst enemy in this area is Azag the Slaughterer. Now let's have a look at Ungrim Ironfist himself. So Ungrim is a great warrior king, I suppose. He doesn't provide any global bonuses to his faction, but he provides some really good bonuses for his primary unit, which are Slayers. So if you have a look at his trait here, the Slayer King reduces the upkeep cost by 25% for Slayer units, and you can significantly reduce it further. There is like an ancillary that you can get for an additional 20% off, so Slayers can get relatively cheap. Melee attack +5 for Slayer units, and passive ability Journey's End for Slayer units. Now that Journey's End passive ability used to be really powerful, and now it barely does anything. And what it's doing is that no casualties will be suffered while their hit points are greater than 75%. So, for example, if they get hit by an artillery piece in the early stages of the battle, they won't actually take a casualty, but then on the next time they get hit, they pretty much will. It used to be at 50%, you could pretty much walk into battle, and as long as the backline didn't actually take any damage, these guys here would just fight to the death and not die. It was really funny, but they nerfed the hell out of it, so it's actually not that powerful anymore. If you have a look at his unique skill line, he doesn't have that much. So he's got Deathblow over here, and you've got mutually exclusive skills out this way. So Determined Deathblow or Extremely Daring Deathblow. It doesn't really matter which one you go with there. And then you've got which Nemesis that you want to I guess, prioritize. Probably greenskins would be best. But you can only get... This is only weapon strength for Ungrim, by the way. And then you've got Doomseekers over here, which gives you casualty replenishment rate plus 15% for Ungrim and Slayers. That is actually very good, because you will probably take a lot of casualties in most battles, just due to the way that Slayers work. Wound recovery time -2, and charge bonus plus 30% for Slayer units. So that is actually good. But these skills over here, they're not really that big of a deal. Then you've got his other skill over here, which is unlocked at rank 12. You've got melee attack plus 12, which is just for Ungrim. Then you've got Slayer King, melee attack plus 5 for Slayer units. Dragon Slayer, bonus versus large plus 10 for Slayer units. Lord's Army, bonus versus large, which is just for him. And then Demon Slayer, which is just for him, melee attack plus 15 when fighting against Warriors of Chaos, Norska, and Demons. So overall, I think that Ungrim's skill line is not really that good. It basically incentivizes you to only ever recruit Slayers, which I guess is fitting, but he doesn't really boost any other units apart from the generic red line. He's also got a couple of other semi-unique skills up here, like Lord of the Deeps, but I just don't think that that's very impactful whatsoever. Overall, I don't think he's got a very good skill line. If we have a look at his items, he's got the Slayer Crown, which is pretty good. You know, loads of bloody stuff in there, giving him loads of combat ability. You got the Dragon Cloak of Freyskar. Again, loads of ward save if you add all these up here. And the Axe of Dargo here, reducing your upkeep cost further, income, recruit cost, melee attack, just providing loads of stuff here. You guys can read. I don't want to sit here for 5 hours reading all the stuff out. And then if you get all of them, the Arsenal of the Slayer gives you control plus 3 for the local province, recruit rank for Slayer units, and reduced recruit cost for Slayer units, which stacks with his faction trait here. Construction cost minus 75% for Slayer buildings, and recruit cost minus 50% for Slayer units, and speed for all infantry units, which is very useful for dwarves, making them reasonably quick, so you can get in on their missile units quickly and take them out. Overall, I think that Ungrim and Ungrim's faction is a little bit on the weak side in terms of just the bonuses that they're getting. It's just heavily incentivized towards just getting Slayers. Really nothing else is incentivized at all, but that doesn't mean you can't have a fun campaign with this one. It's just a very one-dimensional campaign where it's just Slayers all the way. At least you're able to recruit them right from turn 1 because you've got the Slayer Shrine of Karak-Kadrin. And overall, I've played a few Ungrim Ironfist campaigns, and it's not too bad. It's definitely not my favorite of even the Dwarves factions, but it's not too bad. You're presented with a reasonable amount of challenge. You've got the tools that you need to take it on. As long as you lean into his strengths and be aggressive, you can certainly carve out yourself a fairly large empire fairly early on. So overall, I think it's a fairly enjoyable campaign. Now, in terms of difficulty, I'd probably recommend playing this one on very hard or legendary, since Ungrim, or just the Dwarves in general, sort of benefit in terms of fun from having challenging enemies. Otherwise it feels way too easy, but it's entirely up to you. If you're a little bit overwhelmed by dealing with, you know, 2 stacks very early on from the greenskins, then it might be best to bump it down to hard or normal difficulty. It's entirely up to you, but whatever the difficulty, Ungrim can definitely handle it. Anyway, that's the end of this one here, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Ungrim's campaign. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.